Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast. Today we are unpacking a concept that, well, it might just save you from your own procrastination.
Yeah.
We're looking at a strategy called temptation bundling, and we're basing this deep dive on a really fascinating article by Felix Römer, who's the founder of SmartKeys.org.
It's great to be here, and honestly, this topic is one of my favorites. It gets at something we all secretly struggle with. We all have that list, the things we know we should do for our careers, for our health, but we just don't.
Dreaded "I'll do it tomorrow" list.
Oh, yeah.
That's the bane of my existence.
Exactly. And the usual advice is just terrible, right? Productivity gurus, managers, they all say just buckle down, use your willpower.
Be more disciplined.
Yeah, that. But as you look through Rimmer's insights and the research he points to, it's so clear that relying on willpower it's just a terrible strategy for a modern professional.
Okay, that's a bold way to open. We're told our whole lives that discipline is a character trait, but you're saying it's more about, engineering?
I am. The research suggests that willpower is a finite resource. It's like a battery. If you spend all day white-knuckling through tasks you hate, admin, expense reports, those awful emails, by 4 p.m., that battery's dead.
Right.
So the future of work isn't just about AI. It's about hacking our own human operating systems. And we are just hardwired to avoid pain and seek pleasure.
So our mission for this deep dive is to figure out how to stop fighting that wiring and actually start using it. Römer's article lays out a framework for taking those tasks we dread, the shoulds, and bundling them with things we actually love, the wants.
Right. And if you do it correctly, efficiency stops being a struggle. It becomes almost automatic. You basically stop fighting with yourself all day.
Okay, so let's start with the definition just to get everyone on the same page. What is temptation bundling? Because it sounds a little bit like bribing yourself.
It is. In a way, it's self-bribery, but it's scientifically structured. At its core, it's a strategy where you pair an instant gratification activity, something you really crave, with a task that has a delayed reward, something you tend to put off.
Okay, but I feel like we kind of try to do this intuitively, don't we? Like eating chocolate while studying or listening to music while you clean the garage. Is this really different?
It is, and that's the key. It's different because of the structure and the exclusivity. It's not just doing two things at once. It's about creating a dependency. But before we get to the how-tos, we really have to get the science, or it just sounds like a gimmick. The article talks about something called Premack's principle.
Which sounds like it should be from a physics textbook, but I know it's psychology, so break that down for us.
It is psychology. David Premack was a researcher, and his principle essentially says that high probability behaviors can be used to reinforce low probability behaviors.
Okay, let's translate that into English for those of us who aren't psychologists.
A high probability behavior is something you do with zero motivation. Scrolling social media, listening to a true crime podcast, watching that new thriller series.
Right.
You don't need a pep talk to do those things. You just do them. They provide that little dopamine hit.
Yeah, nobody has to convince me to check Instagram.
Exactly. Now, the low probability behavior is the thing you're avoiding. Folding laundry, clearing out your inbox, writing that weekly status report. Premack's principle says if you link them, if you make the fun thing contingent on the boring thing, the desire for the fun thing actually drags the difficult task along for the ride.
It's the grandmother rule. You don't get dessert until you eat your broccoli.
That's the simplest way to put it, yeah. But it gets a lot more sophisticated when we look at the actual data. Römer points to a specific study that really put this whole concept on the map. It was led by Catherine Milkman at UPenn back in 2014.
Yes, the gym study. I love this part because it's just so relatable.
This is the gold standard. I mean, the numbers here are staggering because they isolated this one variable so perfectly. They took a group of people who all wanted to exercise more, but, were struggling to actually do it.
The classic New Year's resolution crowd.
That's it. High intentions, low execution. So the researchers gave these people iPods loaded with really gripping audiobooks. We're talking The Hunger Games, The Da Vinci Code.
Oh, the page turners. The kind of story where you physically need to know what happens next. I've lost entire weekends to books like that.
We all have. But here was the kicker, the absolute genius of it. The researchers locked those iPods at the gym. The participants were only allowed to listen to those stories while they were exercising.
So if they wanted to find out who the killer was, they had to go get on the treadmill.
They held the narrative hostage, and the result, that group showed a 51% increase in gym visits over a 10-week period compared to the control group.
51%, that's massive. In behavioral science, you're usually happy with like a 5 or 10% nudge. 51 is a complete shift.
Exactly. And that's why this is so important for professionals. It proves that locking the reward to the activity changes the entire equation in our brain. It stops being, oh, I have to go work out, and it becomes, oh, I get to listen to my story. You pivot the motivation from that abstract, long-term benefit to an immediate, concrete reward.
Okay, so the science is solid. It works for the gym. But let's pivot this to the professional world. Because I can't exactly watch the Hunger Games in a client meeting, How do we build one of these bundles for work without getting fired?
That is the crucial question, and the article breaks this down into a really clear 3-step process. If you skip a step, the whole thing usually fails. Step 1 is the setup. You have to visualize your options. Römer suggests just making a simple 2-column list.
I'm a fan of lists. Okay, so column A and column B.
Column A is your wants, your guilty pleasures, that podcast, the Netflix show everyone's talking about, a specific playlist even something sensory, like a really good coffee you love.
Okay, so that's the bait. And column B?
Column B is the shoulds, the drudgery, expense reports, filing receipts, cleaning your home office, answering all those non-urgent emails.
So now I have my list of fun stuff and my list of misery. Do I just draw a line between random items?
You could, but you'd probably fail. And this is where we get to step 2, which I think is the most valuable part for professionals. Matching and conflict checks. This is where most people go wrong.
Conflict checks. What does that mean here?
You have to match the cognitive load of the tasks. You cannot pair a cognitively demanding should with a cognitively demanding want. Your brain it can't handle it.
So, for example, I can't try to write a complex financial report while watching some fast-paced, subtitled drama.
Exactly. Your brain would just short circuit. You'd either write a terrible report or you'd completely miss the plot of the show. It's cognitive overload. The work doesn't get done right, which just defeats the whole purpose.
So what's a good rule of thumb for matching?
The advice is to pair passive rewards with low-focus chores. You want the reward to occupy a different channel in your brain than the work.
Okay, give me an example of golden pair.
Listening to a podcast, which is audio only, while doing something visual but kind of mindless, like sorting emails into folders or doing some basic data entry, your eyes are doing the work. Your ears are getting the reward.
That makes perfect sense. Or maybe listening to a high-energy playlist while doing something that needs speed but not, deep thought.
Perfect. But you wouldn't listen to a podcast with heavy dialogue while trying to write marketing copy. Both use the language part of your brain. You have to be strategic about your attention.
Okay, so once we have a match, let's say I'm going to listen to my favorite tech podcast, but only while I'm clearing my email inbox, we get to step 3, the only while rule.
This is the absolute linchpin. If you break this rule, the whole system just collapses. The reward must be conditional. You only get that podcast when the inbox is open. If you listen to it in the car, you've just ruined the bundle.
Because then the inbox is just the inbox again. It loses its shiny wrapper. But let's be real, cheating is pretty easy. I can just hit play whenever I want.
You can, and the text suggests you might need to enforce this technically, especially at first. It talks about locking the system.
Yeah, I saw some pretty hardcore ideas in there, like giving your Netflix password to a friend who only gives it back when you prove you did the work.
It sounds extreme, but for some people, that external accountability is what they need until the habit forms. Or just setting app limits. Or if you have a tablet you watch shows on, maybe you just leave that tablet in your gym bag. You physically can't use it on the couch. You have to remove the path of least resistance.
I want to dig into some more of those workplace applications. We talked about email, but the article had other really clever bundles for professionals. One that stood out to me was dealing with difficult people.
Oh, yeah. This is a really smart one. We all have those contacts. A difficult client, a colleague who just drains your energy. You dread the meeting. You put it off.
Yeah. The meeting that ruins your whole afternoon just by being on the calendar.
Right. So the strategy is to bundle that interaction with a location or an experience you actually love. You make a rule. I only meet with this specific client at that cafe that has the amazing pastries.
So the positive environment kind of offsets the negative social interaction.
Exactly. You're bundling the should, which is the meeting, with the want, the location. It makes the whole thing feel lighter. You start to associate that person with the smell of good coffee instead of just stress. It reframes it.
That's actually brilliant. You're hacking your own Pavlovian response.
Yeah.
What about the commute? I feel like the commute is kind of the original temptation bundle for a lot of people, even if they don't know the name.
It is, but you can be more intentional. The source material talks about turning travel time into growth time. If you have a commute and you only listen to a specific educational audiobook during that commute, you suddenly stop resenting the traffic so much.
Or, if you're like me, true crime time. But the principle holds. If I'm at home, I should be present, but in the car. That's my time.
And that leads to a couple of real-world examples in the text that show just how creative you can get. Did you see the story about Ronan Byrne?
The cyclist. Yes, this guy is a legend in this world.
He really is. He's an electrical engineer in Dublin. He knew he needed to exercise more, but he just wanted to watch Netflix. So, being an engineer, he don't rely on willpower. He built a system. He hooked up his stationary bike to his computer.
This is the best part.
And he wrote a program so that Netflix would only play if he was cycling above a certain speed. If he slowed down, the show paused.
That is immediate consequences. You want to see the season finale, pedal faster.
It's extreme, but it illustrates the point perfectly. He engineered his environment so the want was physically dependent on the should. He didn't have to decide to work out. He just had to work out to see his show.
There was also a mention of ABC's Thursday night ritual. This was more of a corporate example, wasn't it?
Yes. ABC, the network, created this huge TGIT, thank God it's Thursday brand, around Shonda Rhimes' shows. For the audience, it turned watching TV into this time cue for relaxation.
So the ritual itself became the reward.
Exactly. And for professionals, this touches on something really critical, decision fatigue.
Let's get into that. So what? Why should a manager or a CEO care about this? Is it just about getting more done? Or is there a bigger benefit?
It's about energy management, fundamentally. We burn so much mental energy just deciding to do something. Should I answer emails now or later? Should I prep for that meeting? Every time you ask, you drain your battery.
And temptation bundling removes the question.
Exactly. If the rule is I only listen to this podcast while I process invoices, there's no decision. You put on the headphones, you do the work. It saves your executive function for the high-level strategic stuff that actually needs it.
It also bridges that gap we mentioned earlier, the immediate gratification.
This is so crucial. We are wired for the now. The benefit of a clean inbox or being fit is it's in the future. It's abstract. The benefit of a great podcast is right now. Bundling brings that future reward into the present. It makes progress feel, as the article says, fun instead of forced.
But, okay, we have to be realistic. There's a warning label here. The expert, looking at the Milkman study, he points out something called the Thanksgiving effect. What's that?
This is a really important nuance for sustainability. In that gym study, they found that after the Thanksgiving break, when the gym was closed, people were away, attendance really dipped when they came back.
The habit broke.
The habit broke. The momentum was lost. And what this tells us is that these bundles aren't permanent. They're kind of fragile. If the audiobook finishes or the TV show gets boring, the bundle falls apart.
That makes so much sense. If I finish the series I'm watching while folding laundry and I don't have a new one lined up, suddenly laundry is just laundry again. And I hate laundry.
Precisely. So the strategy for professionals is that you have to actively manage the want side of the equation. You need to plan for refreshes. If you feel that dopamine hit fading, switch genres. Change the podcast. Don't wait for the bundle to break. Anticipate it.
It's like crop rotation for your brain. You have to keep the soil fresh.
That's a great way to put it. You have to keep the reward enticing, or the work will just stop happening. You have to treat your own motivation like a project that needs to be managed.
So as we're wrapping up here, we want to give our listeners something really practical. We've covered the science, the steps, the risks. What's the challenge for this week?
The challenge is to start small. I think a lot of people hear this and they try to restructure their entire life overnight. They create 10 bundles. Don't do that. Just try one micro pairing this week.
Just one?
Just one. Pick one task you're dreading for tomorrow. Maybe it's that status report or cleaning your desktop files. And pick one audio reward, a new album, a podcast, and just make a deal with yourself. I only press play when I open the document.
I just see what happens.
See if the resistance drops. And you can also integrate this with what the source calls habit stacking.
Right, stacking the bundle onto something you already do.
Exactly. For example, after I finish lunch, which is an existing habit, I will do 20 minutes of emails, the should, and then I will unlock the podcast, the want. You create a chain reaction. It removes the need for willpower almost entirely.
I really like that. It feels manageable. It doesn't feel like I have to become some kind of productivity robot.
And that's really the ultimate goal here. I think it's important to end on this thought. Temptation bundling uses external reward shows, music, coffee, But the long-term goal is internal satisfaction.
What do you mean by that?
The tool is just the bridge to get you there. Eventually, you start to actually enjoy having a cleaner home. You enjoy the feeling of an empty inbox. You enjoy the fitness you've built. The bundle gets you over the hump of resistance until the results start speaking for themselves. Use the want to build the should, but eventually the should becomes its own reward because you love the result.
That's a powerful place to get to, when the discipline becomes its own reward. But you used a little hack to get there.
Exactly. It's not cheating. It's engineering your own success. It's just acknowledging that we're humans, not machines, and sometimes we need a little help to do the hard things.
Well, this has been a fantastic deep dive. I'm definitely going to look at my to-do list differently. I think I need to find a new podcast before I tackle my expenses.
I'll send you some recommendations.
Please do. And to you, the listener, thank you for tuning in to the SmartKeys podcast. We hope this gave you a fresh way to think about your week.
And if you want to dig deeper into the science and see the full strategy, we highly encourage you to read the full article by Felix Römer.
You can find the link to temptation bundling right there in the show notes. Go check it out, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast for more insights on the future of work and sauce innovation. Until next time, work smarter.
Work smarter.